Good afternoon. My name is Ulf Severin, and I hope I don't disappoint you, because in the program it says I'm Danish and that we are working vaccines. That's not correct, but we are working with dental implants. And we are a Swedish company, by the way. I'm going to talk about the next generation of dental implants, and we call them for solid. We have a mission to improve success of implants by introducing this unique bioactive coating. What it is basically three components of a product. It's a dental implant, it's a glue in the form of a blood protein, fibrinogen, and in this case we have bisphosphonates, a widely used drug for osteoporosis treatment, and that we put on the implant. And by doing that, we will strengthen the bone. In fact, let's move on with that one. There are some major challenges with dental implant restorations. One very prominent one is stability problems. Also that you lose bone around the implant for different reasons. One of them is infections. And also there is a problem with so-called high-risk or complicated patients. And that is, for example, diabetes and smoking patients. And you probably know that diabetes is increasing a lot, and so is smoking, even if it's not in Sweden, but in other countries there is a lot of smokers. I heard a number today that in the US it's plus 13% diabetes patients today, and it's increasing. So on the figures down there to the left, you can imagine that we place an implant there, and immediately when we place the implant, it will release the drug into the bone and then creating a stronger bone. What it does is that the osteoclasts, the bone-eating cells, they get kind of sleepy, and then the bone-building cells, the osteoblasts, they will have an advantage by doing like this. We have done numerous animal studies, of course, since, I think the first one was done in 2004, and the company was formed in 2008. This is just to show you one of the studies that we did on a human and clinical material, which I think is very, very strong and significant. In this case, we used dental implants from a company called Nobel Biocare, and they have a surface they call Thionite, which was the kind of state of art at the time. So we had in total 16 patients, and you can see the different colors and dots there. For the control, it's blue. And I happen to be colorblind, so I can't see what it says in the bisphosphonate, but that is a triangle. So each patient received 2 implants in their mouth, so they were, so to say, their own control. And we wanted to stay stable, so to say, over the 6 month here, which was the period of time. And as you can see, the triangles are pretty stable around 0. In fact, there is a few with an increased bone height as well. One is sticking out, number 4 there, and it's the same as the control. So it's a lot more stable, and we keep the bone, which is so important when you treat patients with implants. And that is what you can see on the X-ray as well, that if you lose bone, you get bacteria there, and it will be a process that is ongoing. So you want to have it as stable as possible. The market is quite interesting. It's a big market. In 2015, it was 6.4 billion euros, and it's increasing. And in next year, we expect it to be about 9, with a CAGR between 5 and 10%. Different studies shows that all the time. It's more than 25 million implants per year sold and installed. And we are not aiming, even though we have a fantastic product in a model, to say that we are aiming for 20% or anything like that. We are aiming for 2.4% market share in the European market when we have our CE mark. We are aiming for the part which is 20%, and that is the complicated patients of the total market. We think that is reasonable. And again, smokers, diabetes, osteoporosis, and bruxism are good example of complicated patients. Are there any risks? Yes, of course, there are always a risk. One could be the CE approval, because you are probably aware that the regulatory directives are changing from MDD to MDR. And even though we have established a contact with BSI in the UK as our notified body, we don't know exactly, and they don't know exactly when we can start. But we are compiling all the data and everything for this, so we expect to do it in January. Funding, of course, there we are hoping for more money. And of course, there is a conservatism among dentists as well. If you look into the market and the competition, it's an oligopoly market. In the diagram up there, you can see the biggest one is today Straumann, followed by Nobel Biocare. They're both from Switzerland. Nobel used to be a Swedish company, and that was where Professor Brånemark started everything with the modern implant dentistry. Dentsply and Zimmer Biomet and Henry Schein is American companies. They represent approximately 70% of the total market. And then you have another 30% left there up in the left corner. And that is about 300 to 400 smaller companies trying to enter the market. So we think that all the big companies here really needs a differentiator, and we have that for them. But they want us to come closer to the CE mark before they take the step. But we are constantly in contact with them. I have myself worked for Nobel Biocare, Dentsply, and Zimmer Biomet, and my wife worked for Straumann, so we have a fairly good control over them, I would say. What are they doing? They are trying to modify the surfaces, of course, and they make the surfaces more rough. They anodize them, they acid etch, or different method to make them more rough. The problem with that is that if you have a rough surface with pits and grooves, it's very easy for the bacteria to stay there. And if they stay there, you will have a prolonging process, and it goes the wrong direction. And then we talk about problems such as peri-implantitis. It's similar to when you lose the anchorage around the tooth, but now it's an implant, so it's peri-implantitis instead of parodontitis. Our uniqueness with our drug, together with a smoother surface, which we have our implant, we think that is the key. It gives a good fixation, and we reduce the risk for peri-implantitis. So that is very important. Our business model is that we will start in Scandinavia with our own sales force, and we will sell to private and hospital clinics, and then we get a return to Addbio that way. When it comes to Europe, where we will start outside Scandinavia and in some selected countries only, we will work with strong agents and distributors that really knows key opinion leaders and have a very good network with the clinics. They get paid from the patients, of course, and they buy the product with a discount from us, so they get the revenue that way. And this is to illustrate that we will start in Scandinavia on our own, and then in 21 we will start in some of the selected markets, the bigger markets in volume, of course, and especially the more profitable ones, where the prices of implants are as high as possible. And then we go on further. And that gives us, as I mentioned before, 23 million euros in 2025. With the good margins that we have, we also have very good projections for our net profit, of course. So far, we have invested in research and development around 8 million euros. And now to reach the market, we need another 3.5 to 4 million euros. I saw that Gunilla Lundmark just came in, so this we will discuss next week. Gunilla, you can see here on the right side, she's one of our board members. We have a very relevant experience from the medtech industry in the board. I guess that some of you know Tommy Johansson as well, who is now the chairman. He was the former CEO of C3 and also Amra Medical. Henrik Rammer is our biggest investor in the company. He's from Stockholm. Sven Roman just came in a few months back. And Peter Selle is formerly the CEO of Astratech, another dental implant company that he sold to Dentsply a few years back for $1.8 billion. I'm also very proud of my team. Myself, as I mentioned, I have been working for a few dental implant companies, internationally most of the time, for more than 30 years. And Lotta Tolstoy-Tegler is a PhD educated at MIT, and she has a team here with Karin, another PhD, Amelie, soon to be PhD, and Emily has been in the company for 7-8 years now, running the development of the production. So as a summary, and there is Tommy, by the way. I just introduced you, Tommy. As a summary, we have a very unique bioactive coating that makes a difference for the patients. We create smiles, and our technology means that we can have a better stability. We avoid the infections, the periimplantitis, and thereby we can also give the patients better aesthetic solutions. We think this will be the standard treatment for the compromised cases first, and then it will go on. Dental is our proof of concept, but as you see, there is a lot of other applications within the orthopedic sector, and that is really the future. With this as a proof of concept, this market is 10 times bigger. So I hope you will find this interesting. And I thank you very much for listening.